everyone. Today I'm sitting down with Dianne Greyson, and this is another one of my interviews with the Taking Care of Her Business series. The Black women like you and me, like a lot of us who are building our careers or running our own businesses. And Dianne has found time in a busy schedule to tell us a bit about how she got started in her professional life and then even creating her own business. And Dianne is the director of Equilibrium Mediation Consulting, which is a HR consultancy and mediation service. So, hi Dianne, thanks for finding the time, and it's all over to you. Tell us, about yourself and how you got started out.
Okay, well, as you said, I'm the director of Equilibrium Mediation Consulting. I've been doing this since 2014. Right. And the reason why I decided to go into my own business was I just felt that I had something to offer, and I wanted to have the right platform to go out and present myself, as it were. Prior to that, I used to work in IT consultancy for 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time. So I actually started off as a secretary.
Right.
And when I left, I was a regional manager of the business. So I actually literally grew with the business. It was quite small. There was only about 5 people there. By the time I left, there was 300. Wow. So it was quite a big journey and a big part of my life, as it were.
Wonderful.
So I did that until about 2006. And then at that point, I thought I was ready for a change. I think the recruitment environment just changed. And I didn't like the way it was changing. And I always wanted to get into HR. When I proposed that to the director of the consultancy I worked for, he wasn't that keen on me doing it because I was very good at my job. So he didn't want to lose the financial side of it. So he sort of moved me away. But it was always there. So I thought I'd pursue that. One of the last recruitment agencies I worked for was a HR recruitment agency. And from that point, I thought, well, why don't I go and try and see whether or not I could get on to a HR degree course to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I did. So I applied. Now, what I should say, caveat with that, is that I'm not really that academic.
Okay.
I sort of went, oh, okay, I'm going to do it, see what happens. So I sort of thought they would say no, but actually they said yes. And the reason why they said yes is because of my business experience.
Right.
So obviously a lot of HR is related to business. Yeah. So they accepted me. I was pretty scared when I went on for my first day, and all these students who were I thought was far more experienced than me. Right. But it transcended that quite a few of them left and didn't complete the course, and I completed the course and got my degree.
You had to stay in power.
Yes, I had to stay in power, and moreover, I actually got 2 distinctions for one of the courses that I did, which was quite amazing. That was really uplifting for me because I didn't think I was that academic, but I was in a situation where I was able to show what I was capable of, and that was fantastic.
Right.
So whilst doing so, I was also doing part-time work within HR, just trying to get some experience. So I did, I was doing recruitment more so because that's where I came from. So that helped me to build some sort of more experience within the HR environment whilst doing my studies. So that was I did 2 days a week in the evening, and then I worked full time thereafter.
So you were seriously juggling the studying with the getting the experience.
I had a child.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, oh.
Wow.
But, I felt quite passionate, and I knew that is something I wanted to do. Yes. And that was a 2-year course. And as I said, I passed that.
Great.
Which was great. From there on in, I decided to do it on a consultancy basis. So I worked through agencies doing it just to galvanise my skills and get some experience. So I worked for places like the Foreign Office, Thomas Cook, It's Like Media, and other organisations like that. But when it got to a point of 2014, I just thought, well, I need to not just be a person delivering for an agency, I need to deliver for myself and put myself out there a bit more. So I just thought, well, why not? And I did it. I didn't really think, oh my God, I've got to watch out for things and panic. I just did it and just thought, let's see how things go.
Wow, you decided it was time, right?
Yeah, I really did.
Sorry, when you were working with these larger organisations and obviously the experience that you were gaining there, I mean, how did you find sort of even that sort of getting the experience that you needed, in these bigger environments? Was it a bit of a culture shock for you?
To be honest, no, because a lot of when I was working in consultancy, most of my clients were big corporates. Right. So one of my biggest clients was British Gas. I worked for British Telecom. They were my clients. So I was providing people for them. So I was used to that environment anyway. So it wasn't the environment that concerned me. But, you know, every type of organisation you work for have different cultures.
Yes.
So if you work for the public sector, it's completely different from working in the private sector.
Yeah.
And they have the public sector are very hierarchical, and you know you have to make sure you're on the right level to speak to the right people.
Yeah.
So whereas in the private sector, it's not so much, but you know, but still you have to still navigate and understand who your stakeholders are.
Yes.
And how to manage that relationship, and to try and get your, you know, well, for me personally, I'm quite a strong person. So if somebody's telling me no, and I know what they're supposed to be doing is something different, I'll make sure that they do it, or I will encourage them to do that. And so, you know, there were situations, for example, if I'm trying to get them to use a different agency, we're talking about recruitment, so they've got their own. Yeah. And I've got to have a preferred supplier list. I'm trying to create that. Yeah. So I'm going to have to speak to directors or senior managers to say, well, you can't use your friends anymore. You have to use the people that I have got. And it's all about explaining and getting them to understand and being empathetic to them, but also to say, well, this is what the organisation works. So you've got to be strong in that type of environment, I think.
And just to clarify that, so when you were gaining this experience, were you gaining this experience across the recruitment side of things and then dealing with some of the HR difficult situations? What specifically were you?
Well, it started off being recruitment, because that's where I got my experience from mainly. But as I got the degree and I wanted to do more things, I started to do more generalist work. Yeah. So doing, you know, all the day-to-day things that you do within a generalist HR. So in terms of where I am now, I really, my focus and my passion is in equality and diversity. Okay. So that's my driver at the minute. I still do generalist work, and yes, I will do recruitment. But if I can get my hands on equality and diversity project, you know, I would want to run with that, because I'm very, 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 very passionate about it.
Okay, so that's where you then moved from. You took all of this experience from these big companies, contracting, juggling the studying, and bringing up your baby as well, with all the general background, HR and so on, to then move towards having your own biz. Yeah. And now your own business then offers the sort of, you know, the general recruitment, as well as you're saying the diversity focus then to businesses as well. And with regards to that diversity focus, I mean, even the world that we're living in now and some of the things that we're seeing on the news, I mean, for you and as a professional in this field, what are you sort of seeing as some of the biggest, apart from the obvious things that we know that are coming up there?
Well, to me, I think it's very much of a muchness. I think there's a lot of talking and a lot of documentation, but not enough action. And I'm quite frustrated, as are other colleagues in the same arena. They're fed up of seeing the same faces, and they're fed up of hearing that somebody's put out documentation telling you how important it is to have a diverse background and things like that. You know, I think enough talking is where we are at the moment, and stop segregating people. So I think there is a challenge for organisations to treat everybody together. So, you know, you've got BAME, you've got LGBTQ, you've got disability. And what I've said with myself and some colleagues have said is, if you concentrate on one, what happens to the rest?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They might drop off.
Yeah, exactly. So I think what I find is that organisations, particularly big organisations, they tend to focus on the soft ones, you know, the LGBT ones, or they might do BAME, but there'll be a certain section. Disability is always hanging off the edge, and it needs to come forward. So I think the challenge for organisations now is to really be a bit more holistic about their approach when they're dealing with equality and diversity, and think about people.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it's about. Your people, the people who make the money, who do the work, definitely.
Exactly. And if you don't focus on your people, your organisation will suffer. Yeah. And you know, I wrote an article on LinkedIn about equality and diversity. One of the things I said is, if we have to say to you that the reason why I should have a diverse workforce is because of how much financial benefit it will be, then you're doing this wrong. Yeah. It's about the people. It's not about the money. The money will come if you do the right thing. But if you don't, if you're going to exclude people, that's when you're going to lose profits, and other people who are doing the right thing will just upsurge.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. That makes sense. And from what you're saying there, obviously, with, as we know, we see all these terms banded around, you know, BAME and so on, you know, and we know that as Black women in the working world, whether we're building our careers or a business, how difficult that can be at times. So how have you found it, obviously, as a Black woman, starting your own business in this field, but also working with companies to address some of these difficult, you know, diversity issues?
Well, I think for me personally, the real issue for me has been, now that I've gone up to an executive level, I'm finding it more challenging to get the business that I should be getting.
Right.
And I found, again, with others, talking to other Black women, that they found it similar. Where you were working at a medium or lower level,
Yeah.
it was much easier to get the business. But as you go up, it becomes a challenge.
Okay.
And it becomes, you know, they tend to not want to see you in that senior level. And I think even if you look at magazines and papers and so forth, they're saying the same thing, you know, lack of diverse boards, etc., etc. And that is so true. It's because they're not letting us in.
Okay, so you're still seeing some barriers there in terms of actually letting you get over that and come in and sit and do the work.
Yeah.
And you know, something I just thought of, that obviously with what you do and you're working with and advising companies, on the other side of the fence, say if there was somebody, whether it was a Black female or someone else having a difficulty in their role and they felt it was a diversity issue, what would be your advice to them in kind of trying to deal with that, or even just to keep their head, you know, and not lose it in a difficult situation?
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to speak to HR in confidence, but again, I found with some HR organisations that they don't listen, or they listen, but they don't pursue it.
Yeah.
But I think what you do need to do is make sure that you have a strong network around you to be able to talk it out and go through word issues. Because sometimes you might think it's a diversity issue, and in fact it's not. It might be something else. So I think you need to hold your head and think about really what it is. But when it's there in your face, you've got to deal with it directly and make sure that you do the appropriate thing, which would be to probably to speak to HR and get a grievance, and then take it through the whole process.
Yeah.
But equally, putting my other hat on, mediation, I would also suggest that maybe if you can get a mediator involved to talk through the situation. But I've always said, when you're dealing with diversity issues or somebody who's been racist towards you, that is a very hard situation to mediate because it's really deep and personal.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think it's something that maybe one should look at if it's not too painful for the individual. You know, I wouldn't say that it's a given it can be done, but I think if it's not too painful, then maybe we should look at addressing it and talking through, because it could be a misunderstanding, which, you know, I do hate a bit because some people just use that as a factor. They obviously didn't understand what I was saying. Well, actually, yes, I did. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think, you know, don't let the situation get the best of you, I think is definitely a key thing.
Right. I mean, I think that now we're living in a time where Black women like you and I and others, we're maybe prepared to be a bit more vocal.
Yes.
Sometimes even if we feel we're outnumbered, that we might be the only Black face in the office of the department, we're a bit more vocal than maybe our mothers' generations would have been.
Yeah.
And I think that's a shift, you know, we know things ain't perfect, but that's a shift as well.
Yeah, definitely, I think so. And I think for me, my career has always been, I've been the only Black person there. So
I know what you mean.
I'm used to it.
Yes.
But I just thought that was the norm. But there's a period of time where you realise that it should not be the norm and you need to do something about it.
Yeah.
And as you said, you've got to be prepared to talk and say, well, no, hold on a minute. Why is this the case? You know, look at your processes. Are you doing the right things to make sure that other people are included and things like that? And I actually, talking about my son's generation, who is now 19,
right?
They seem to think that there isn't much of a problem.
They have a different view.
It's quite interesting. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because, he's not actually in the corporate world yet.
Yes.
So maybe when he gets him to heal that knowledge. But when I've spoken about it to him, he just says, I can't see where there was an issue there. And I think they were being a little bit silly. But I think it's, obviously when we were younger, we could see all the issues that were going on outside. And, you know, our parents warned us, you know, you've got to be, make sure that you work harder than the white people out there.
Ahead to be accepted.
Yes, it draws into us and make sure that, you know, we do things a certain way. Whereas now it's a little bit easier. It's still tough, you know, don't get me wrong, it's still tough, but it's a little bit easier. And we don't give those types of things to our children. We don't say to them that you have to work hard. We just tell them, you work hard, not because you're black, work hard, that's it.
Yeah, that's been the shift. And on the one hand, I think that we don't want to send them out into the world full of fear, but on the other hand, I think that we still need to make sure they have some of this knowledge at their foundation. Yes, the awareness that whatever they're doing, that they've got that to keep pushing them as well.
Yes, exactly, I agree.
So with regards to where you are now with your business and sort of the work you've been doing, and even maybe some of the work that's related to your mediation, HR, sort of tell us about sort of some of the content or the workshops or any other work that you've been doing.
Yeah, in June, I've done a workshop for an organisation called the Power of Staff Networks, and that was a mediation workshop which I ran, and that was received very well. So it's just basically talking to them about mediation, what it is, the process, and where it can be used, and the benefits, and those types of things. I'm also going to be doing another one in September. For an organisation, A2I Dyslexia, which is a charity which I support, and I'm also a fundraiser for. So that was something that the CEO had asked me to do.
Oh, great.
Yes. So, and also I'll be doing another workshop, hopefully with, I've forgotten the name of the university, but I'm going to put my head down because I did write it down and I just wanted to find it. Yes, London Metropolitan University, there you go. I'm hoping that's going to come through, where I'll be helping students with their CV and interview techniques. I'm hoping to hear back by the end of the week about that one. So yeah, a lot of workshops and doing a lot of events going forward.
Okay, great, and that's given you an opportunity. Kind of work with people. I think we've got a bit of feedback.
Yes, I thought that.
To work with people at your level, but then the younger ones that are coming through as well. It's giving you that chance to broaden their knowledge and experience.
And I think that's quite important. I think that's a market that people forget. The youngsters coming through. It's great to focus on people who already got work, but you've got to prepare those who are coming into it to say, these are the challenges that are going to come through. And these, you know, and this is how you deal with it. I am going to use this time to tell you about something that I am actually going to be doing in March, 1st of March 2018. I'm going to be organising an event, which is an event that we hope is going to help people to aspire. We want to be supportive. We want to help people to overcome challenges and things like that. And it is aimed at people in work, but also for students that will be looking at work and things like that. So I'm quite keen on the relationship between people who are working and also people coming in.
Brilliant. Yeah, and there's definitely a big gap there with the millennials and everything, and how a lot of them are coming through, I think, even as sort of interns and apprenticeships. So, I can definitely see the gap there. And does this all include, I know on some of your profiles as well, about your volunteering work? Is that part of the volunteering that you do as well? Yeah,
I mean, I think that probably the volunteering I do is quite indicative of what I've just said, in that I am a mentor for the Stephen Lawrence Foundation.
Oh, wonderful.
So we support people who are up from 16 to 19. And I've been doing that for a year and I love it. I'll talk to you in terms of telling you what my website is, but you'll see on my website there is a bit about what the mentor's journey was like and what the mentee's journey was like. And I think it was absolutely fantastic. And so I'm going to do it for yet another year.
Okay.
So that's that one. And also I'm a board member of a charity called Certitude. And Certitude are focused on people with learning disabilities and mental health issues. And what I love about this charity, it focuses on everybody.
Right.
You know, I've wanted to be a board member before, but this charity was the first charity that showed people like me who had issues on their website, because normally you don't see it. It's just, you know, it's just white people only.
Yes.
You know, they forget about the others, and that made me draw to it. And they really are quite passionate about helping everybody. you know, not just one sector, everyone, and their focus, their main local focus on London. They may branch out eventually, but that's what their real focus is.
Brilliant. So this is another opportunity or another situation where you've been juggling, you've got your other projects and you're broadening out even more. But at the core, it's still very much about the people.
Absolutely.
And the support, and then with the diversity element as well, how you are using your voice and your skills to support that as well.
Yes, exactly. And as I said, I write articles for LinkedIn, and I write a lot about equality and diversity and just the people element. So, you know, again, I'm quite passionate about those things because I think that not enough people are talking about it, and not enough people are being supportive around it. And, you know, as you said rightly earlier on, society is changing, and unfortunately it's changing negatively. So we need to counteract that.
Yeah, yeah,
positive news and strong Black positive news that's going to help to inspire those coming up and those who might be in a challenging situation at the moment.
Great, brilliant. Well, thank you. And before we end or wrap this up, I mean, what advice would you give to, you know, other Black women that are coming through, either want to start their own business or even, you know, move into the field that you're in, you know, the people focused area? What kind of advice would you give?
Well, I would say stick to what you know, and you know, make sure you build up what you know, and learn whilst you're on that journey. Be sure to learn. It doesn't necessarily have to be going to university. It could be about going to networking events, events about HR, about events about equality and diversity. Learn from other people. That is quite important, because I found early on I probably wasn't doing enough of that, and once I started, that really helped. And it helps to also uplift you as an individual and realizes that, you know, you're a totally capable person, because people are saying and doing the same things you are. So I would say make sure that you do those things, because it is quite key, and keep organized. You know, because as you know, I'm juggling things, so my phone diary is my friend. So I put everything in it and make sure that I know what I'm doing, so I can plan for it, and make sure that you know what you're doing. And when you go to meetings, no matter what they are, make notes, because that's quite important, because that will inform what you do going forward. You know, you might have had a meeting and somebody asks you to help them with a project. You can look back and, you know, and guide yourself. Yeah. And also, you know, don't be afraid to stretch yourself. One thing I did learn about myself is that I really have stretched myself more than I thought I was able to do. So I've done a lot more than I thought I was going to do when I first started. I think don't be afraid of that challenge, because, you know, a lot of sayings you've heard where people have said, oh, you know, if you're not nervous or frightened, you're not doing enough. And it's not quite true, really. You know, don't hurt yourself too much, though.
We've got to push. We've got to keep trying.
Absolutely, yeah. Don't give up. You know, people always say, you know, when things are tough, you know, what keeps you going? But as far as I'm concerned, there is no option, because if you stop, then you get nothing. You know, you just keep with your drive and make sure that you listen to yourself as well. You know, it's not great listening to others, but listen to yourself. Use yourself to be your guide, and know that you're pushing yourself in the right direction. And if you do make a mistake, fine. We do all make mistakes. All of us do.
We're human.
It's what you do after that, and how you build and develop.
Great, thank you. That was fantastic, and some really, really valuable advice. I know a lot of it I'll take on for myself as well. So before we go, if people want to know more about your consulting, you know, your HR mediation consulting, or even to read your articles, where can they find you online? You know, what's your website or your social media profiles? Well,
my Twitter handle is #EMC Limited.
Right.
And you can find my website on www.equilibriummediation.com. I know that's long. Hopefully you'll be able to get to me there. And if you go onto LinkedIn and just type in my name, you should be able to find out detail. What I tend to do, I don't tend to link with everybody. I link with people who are in the same business as I am, or who can elevate me, and you know, I can help them as well. So, you know, a lot of the information you'll find out about me is about the type of individual I am, and that's all based on my articles and the things that I like and things like that. And all of it, I hope, is positive.
Brilliant. I'm sure it will be. Okay, so if people go to Dianne Greyson on LinkedIn, and that's Dianne with 2 N's, Dianne Greyson.
Right. And Grayson with the E, may I say?
Yeah, don't forget the E. Or come to your website, which is, Equilibrium
Mediation.com.
Brilliant. Okay, and that's how they find you. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, with all your juggling, that you found the time in your crazy schedule, and for the great advice that you've given, and even sharing your experiences as well. It's really good to hear and know about professionals like you, and the black women like us that have been in these professional arenas and still are, with the work that you're doing. And look forward to hearing more about what you're doing in future, and I know that you and I will catch up again as well. Definitely. This won't be the last time.
No, it's been a real pleasure, and thanks very much, and I really do hope your audience gets as much out of it as I have.
Right.
So, yes, long may that continue.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Dianne, and yeah, we'll catch up soon and have a fantastic day. All right.
Thank you. Take care.